Jabari, let's just talk about the sort of larger implications of this, you think, to the NFL and the power of this lawsuit.
Well, good morning, Andrew. And listen, it's an impactful lawsuit. Brian Flores, showed is a bold move, courageous move, because, he may not ever get a job in the NFL again. But should you find more coaches join this class action? Remember, it's a class action complaint, so the NFL has to respond. And, we'll see what they say about the fact that they don't think that there was any wrongdoing. But that's the legal process. But if you get more coaches to join into this and you get more evidence that there was some discrimination and this gets to the court system, then you start talking about possibly going into the NFL's owners' money. Because let's say it's $1 billion payout now to black coaches who felt like they were discriminated against. Now you're talking revenue, right? Now you're talking going into their pockets. Maybe that affects change. But at the same time, this is the stage one of a very long fight. It can get to a point where, you start to see more coaches join in. And if that's the case, that could mean trouble for the NFL.
Patrick, of course, the NFL put in place what they're calling the Rooney Rule close to 20 years ago. And that's in part what he is suggesting was the reason he was even given this interview. And he's arguing it was a sham interview. How do you think about this? And does this change the dynamic?
Well, Andrew, there has been plenty of instances where this has happened since the Rooney Rule was instituted. Unfortunately, there have been other coaches who have felt that it was just a token interview, and that's the problem. I am very troubled, even more troubled with this claim with the Dolphins, that if the owner of the Dolphins was trying to, in essence, bribe Brian Flores to lose games, this has competitive issues that I think the league is going to strongly penalize. But going back to Jabari's point, one interesting thing is I'm hopeful that by having the courage to come forward, and because there are plenty of teams and individuals in the league that have shown a tendency to hire minority coaches and positional coaches, coordinators, that this is actually, I think, going to embolden Brian Flores, and I do think he will coach in the NFL again.
Going back to this issue of Stephen Ross, though, because you're right. That's a big claim. In addition, obviously, to the issue of racial discrimination, do you see his ownership of the Dolphins in jeopardy as a result of this?
Andrew, I don't. But what I do see is the NFL is obviously going to investigate all three of these cases and teams. But in the case of the Dolphins and the Giants, what the NFL could do in their playbook is either fine with cash or fine with draft picks. This is typically what happens. One other thing I want to say about this is, obviously, with only one current black coach out of 27 teams that currently have coaches, you have 5 openings that are still out there. I think the timing of this lawsuit actually could help some of the minority candidates in this particular cycle, that if there is a close race between a white and a black candidate, right or wrong, I think that this actually may, because it's bringing this to the light, may help some of these minority candidates, whether it's Brian Leftwich of the Buccaneers or some of the defensive coordinators like Raheem Morris. I think they've got a better shot.
But Professor, I think we assume that, right? I think we assume that it might help them, but I think this is more of a systemic issue. Because when you talk about, they may help them this cycle, yeah. But what about the rest of the cycles? What about the cycles beyond this year, the cycles of 10 years from now? I think this possible lawsuit can really change the thinking of owners and how they approach it if you go into their pocketbooks. So though it may help people this time, I'm not sure if it answers the issue that Brian Flores has brought up, and that is this is a sham. The Rooney Rule. Yes, I think it was the NFL is acknowledging that they have a problem by even installing the Rooney Rule, but at the same time, this is a more systemic issue. How do you change the thinking of the people who are doing the hiring, which is the owners? And we obviously know the only thing that gets them to tick, these are businessmen, is money, okay? What got them to bend over in St. Louis, a $790 million lawsuit? What got them to Jerry Jones to kneel, okay? Money coming out of their pockets when the players took a stand. So maybe this changes things and maybe it helps them, but it's not about just this cycle. It's about something deeper than that, and we'll see if this lawsuit helps that.